um, this morning as we get ready to embark on this journey in Proverbs 13. I ask that you continually pray for my friend and my brethren as he recovers from heart surgery, a member of our church as she undergoes procedures to take care of her parathyroid, and pray for the families of both as they endure. The Limestone slash Antioch family has lost one of his elders. Please pray for the Harry family, and anyone else who is lost during this time. I pray that we continually keep them uplifted during this time of grief. As we bow heads, our Father which art in heaven, come to thee this day, dear Father, thank you for blessing on blessings. Lord, keep us, touch us, guide us. This be my prayer in your Son, Jesus' name, amen. So 2 or 3 Sundays ago, I noticed something that I deemed important. I noticed that I think I had been preaching over everyone's head. So after you have been preaching for a while, and I think I'm 15 or 16 years in, and please don't take that as me thinking I know everything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying after you've been preaching and studying for a while, you assume that the people around you have been studying as hard as you've been studying. So you try to or attempt to ascend. You hope that they ascend as you ascend. So you pray that as you're studying more deeply and intently, that they're studying more deeply and intently. So as you move from preaching on of baby's milk, you pray that they are ready to receive better. But I found that I was preaching about heaven and Jesus and making it in, and I should have been just preaching on being better people. So before you can work on getting to heaven and work on your acknowledgement of the Bible and Old Testament versus New Testament, uh, um, your understanding of the difference between the Hebrews and the Jews and the Israelites, before you can understand which disciples, the difference between disciples and apostles, I think we have to take inventory of ourselves and just come to a conclusion of, are we good people? And I started to look around, and some of the people that I were preaching to, just in the simplest of terms, just were not good people. They were not helping each other. They were not speaking good words to each other. Some of the stuff they were saying to each other on Facebook, not only were not things that were not words that would get you into heaven. They were just not things that the average person on the outside, people that were not Christians, people that did not love the Lord, just your every common everyday people would not deem them good people. So I had to dial it back last Sunday. And last Sunday, I started to preach a watered down sermon, which preachers deem baby's milk. And it was just about being a better person. Not about heaven, not about Jesus, not about the resurrection, not about the ascension, not about transfiguration, or any of these other fancy terms, the Septuagint, none of that stuff. Because I think I was going over a lot of people's heads, and I think I need to dial it back a little bit, and we need to just get some foundational teaching here of just being a better person, how to deal with things, how to just be good people, how to smile in the face of adversity, how to pray for those who mean you harm, just how to be a good person. So today, if you will, turn with me to Proverbs 13, and many of you all know this this verse, Proverbs 13 and 24, and it's spare the rod, spoil the child. Proverbs 13 and 24 reads from the NIV: "Whoever spares the rod hates their child, but the one who loves their children is careful to discipline them." And this is from the NIV, and that's the spare the rod, spoil the child verse. So when I was a youth pastor, so the first years of being a preacher, if you are young when you first start preaching, if you don't have any gray hairs, you generally are a youth preacher or a youth pastor. So you only get to preach youth sermons and maybe a usher day every now and then. So I preached a plethora of youth sermons. And for whatever reason, this is a huge youth sermon passage. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And because I had not done my due diligence, or maybe because I was young in the ministry, and I had heard so many other preachers preach from that passage out of youth sermon, I never really read Proverbs 13, so I really didn't know what Proverbs 13 in itself was talking about. So I didn't know the background of what Solomon was writing about. So if you read Proverbs, Solomon is basically writing a transcript on how to be a good person through wisdom. So everything that he writes is based on the wisdom and knowledge. So he's talking about how young people should get knowledge or wisdom for the older generation. So in chapter 13, spare the rod, spoil the child. This verse is really not speaking to the child. It's more speaking to the adult. And as you go 1 through 23, you can kind of see that Solomon is writing a template on, if I want my child to be a good person, there are certain things that I must show my child in me. So one of my favorite sayings is, an apple tree grows apples. So when I see children or certain people just acting a plumb fool somewhere, just as surely as the sky's blue, it won't be but a few days I'll see their parent come through, and their parent will come through the emergency room and they'll be acting a plumb donkey. And I'll turn to my nurse and say, I told you, apple trees grow apples. And all that means is a tree is known by the fruit that it bears. So if your child acts a fool, it's probably because it comes from a foolish tree, that foolish tree being you. If your child is a cusser and a fighter, that's probably because they come from a cussing, fighting tree, and that tree is you. If your child is skipping school and having sex with everybody, it's probably because it comes from that tree, which is you. And we have to acknowledge these things and stop putting it off on everybody else. So when I read, and I want y'all to know, I have children, so I'm not like throwing stones and hiding my hands. I have my own issues, and more than likely, because apple trees grow apples, the issues that I have to really be careful and watch for these things to rear their ugly heads in my children, and I have to keep a close eye on my children, especially the things that I know that I have done, and I have to make sure that I don't let those things get out of hand, because at the end of the day, apple trees grow apples, okay? So I shouldn't expect my children to be peaches when they come from me. I should expect that they will attempt to do the exact same things that I did, because at the end of the day, they're half me. And the other half of them is my wife, who liked me. So at the end of the day, apple trees grow apples. So you should never be surprised by what your children do, because at the end of the day, they're going to do what you did unless you discipline them. But in Proverbs 13, what Solomon is telling them is how to be a better person. And then when he gets down to the bottom, if you are a better person, then this is what your child will see, and they will be able to take discipline from you. So a lot of children can't take discipline from their parents because their parents have not lived a life that's worthy of giving discipline. So if you've lived an undisciplined life, it's very hard for your child then to take discipline from you. If you've lived a foolish life, it's then hard for your child to take wisdom from you. I've had older people in my life try to give me advice, and at that time in my life, I found now that I can listen to anyone, and then I have to decipher in that what God had for me. But as a youth, I couldn't just take advice from anybody. See, your life had to look a certain way in order for me to listen to what you had to say. So if you lived a foolish life, and I'll give you an example of this. So I knew a person that slept with a lot of people, and then in turn would try to tell me that I shouldn't do that. Well, it was hard for me as a youth to listen to that person, because your life was so loud that I couldn't hear what you were saying. Y'all with me now? So In Proverbs 13, Solomon is telling the parent, this is the things that you should do. So when I get down to verse 24 and I tell you to spare the rod, spoil the child, your child then can accept discipline from you because they've seen you live a disciplined life. Not that I want you to be perfect, not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, in the eyes of your child, you must live a better life. If at any point you plan to discipline them or give them any kind of direction, if you expect at any point for them to listen to the words that are coming out of your mouth. So I'm going to do a couple verses this morning, and then I'm going to really get into it in parking lot service, all right? So verse 1 says, a wise son heeds his father's instructions, but a mocker does not respond to rebukes. So a wise son heeds his father's instructions. So in order to first be a wise son and heed his father's instructions, generally an apple tree makes apples. So if he starts out by saying a wise son heeds his father's instructions, it is implied here that the father too is wise, all right? So if you're expecting your child to heed your instructions, you can't just step out one day and you have not been in your child's life all along. You can't just step out one day and because you birthed this child, or because you spawned this child, or because you were the seed bearer for this child, and you have not lived a wise life, and then one day you decide you want to just discipline this child, or you want to give this child instructions. See, people that can't read maps, it's very hard for them to give instructions because they give instructions in an undisciplined way. But people that can read maps can give instructions because they give it in a disciplined way. So right here we find that if you are not a wise person, it's very difficult for people to take instructions from you. So it said a wise son heeds his father's instructions. So I just need some people to sit back and take inventory of your life. Not your entire life, the life that your children have seen you live. Because all of us lived a childish life when we were children, but there should have came a point in your life where you grew up, when you had children of your own. It should have been a time where, in retrospect, you took inventory of your life and you said, it's time out for the foolishness that I've done. It's time for me to live a different life now that I have children. I can't do the things that I used to do anymore. I can't have any and every man in and out of my house over my little girl, because when I get ready to teach my little girl about how to act around a man, she's not going to listen to me because I've had men in and out over her my entire life. So she's not going to deem me wise. Men, you can't expect your son to listen to you about how to treat a woman when you treated his mama any kind of way all along. It says, wise son, heed his father's instructions. That's a wise father. It's very difficult for the youth to overlook who you are and listen to what you say. So your life has to somehow correspond to the things that you're trying to tell. It's very difficult for them to separate wisdom from the person. Verse 2, from the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things, but the unfaithful have an appetite for violence. Listen to me, parents. I need y'all to speak in an uplifting tone, an uplifting tone. So you want your children to do well in life, but you never uplift them with your tone. You want your children to do these awesome things in life. You want them to succeed. You want them to be successful. But all you do is talk down to them. It said the fruit of their lips, people enjoy good things. So I used to love this about my dad. So no matter what I told my dad I was going to do, my dad would sit me down. And once he realized that I was serious about it, whatever it was, if I was serious about it, my dad said, son, you can do anything you put your mind to. And he believed that. And he looked you in your eye and he said, are you serious? And once he realized that I was serious and I was going to get it, he was behind me 100%. And when he talked to me about it, he talked to me in an uplifting tone. When I told him I was going to med school, he said, well, son, he said, I couldn't figure out how I was going to pay for it. He said, son, you deal with the books. He said, because I think you can do it. He said, you deal with the books. He said, and I'll deal with the finances. He said, and we're going to put it together, and you're going to be something. And that's what I like about him. You have to have somebody speaking to you as a youth that has uplifting tongue. He never spoke down to me. If I was doing bad, he called. He said, son, it's going to be all right. And it wasn't just it's going to be all right in one of those old passive ways to where he wanted to get rid of me. When he wanted me to know that he was my father and he was behind me 100% through hell and high water, fire and brimstone, he believed that his son was going to make it. Not just because I was his son, but because he believed that if he just uplifted me and he pushed me and he had taught me and he had stood by me, he believed that if he just spoke in an uplifting tongue, he believed that people enjoy a good thing when they speak good fruit from their lips. Verse 3 says, those who guard their lips, though, preserve their lives. But those who speak rashly will come to ruin. Listen to me, adults. So I'm not talking to the children now, because see, children can only be what they see. It's very difficult to overcome what you see on a regular basis. It's very hard for an apple to grow from a peach tree. Now I would imagine that somehow, some way, God can make this happen. But on a regular basis, you become whatever your surroundings are. You hear what I'm saying? So it says, those who guard their lips preserve their life. Those who speak rashly will come to ruin. All this is saying is think before you speak. Before you open your mouths, you must engage brain before tongue. Too often we open our mouths and we say things irrationally, and then once it's out there, you can't pull that stuff back. I see people in marriage and when they get into these arguments, they say things that have been in their minds for months and months. And they say things about each other's parents, and they say things about each other's body habitus, and they say all these mean and dirty things to each other. And once that stuff is out there, there's some things that you can't apologize for. There's some things that once you've heard, you can't unhear. So you have to think before you speak. But now, because we live in a time of computer world and Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and Snapchat, you have to also think before you type, because that stuff is there forever. Adults, listen to me. I have so many adults that type some terrible, awful things on Facebook, things that I pray your children never see. But then in a couple months, you want to discipline your child and tell them that what they should say and what they shouldn't say, where they should go and where they shouldn't go. But you type this irrational mess on Facebook for your child to see. You posted these pictures of yourself just showing things that shouldn't be shown. And then your child has to then tell their friends why mama said this, or why mama showed this, or why mama does these things. And then when you want to discipline your child, you want to question why your child acts the way they do. It's because apple trees grow on apples grow on apple trees. You just got to be so careful that you engage this brain before you engage this tongue, before you engage these fingertips, because the stuff that you say, the stuff that you type, the stuff that you do, it does not just disappear. And it is so hard to discipline your child once you put this stuff into the atmosphere. Verse 4, a sluggard, which means a lazy person's appetite is never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. Lord have mercy. The lazy folks want it all, but they don't want to do the work that it takes to get it all. Parents, listen to me. Your child is watching you. For you all out there that have a scheme for everything, you want to get rich quick. You don't want to put in the work that it takes to get what the other people have. You're always looking at what somebody else has and you want it, but you don't want to put in the work. I had a guy tell me this, Dr. Brown, I cut my hand off. If I had yours, baby, don't cut your hand off, because if you cut your hand off, you just going to be one-handed, because the things that I have, God blessed me with them, sure enough. But you don't understand how long I went to school. You don't understand how long I scuffled. You don't know how many nights I stayed up night after night after night after night studying. You have no idea the tears that I cried. My daddy cried. My mama cried. My wife cried. You have no idea how many nights I work in a row. You have no idea how many nights I'm away from my family. You have no idea what you are talking about. But it's so amazing to me that people can sit at home and be jobless, not looking for a job, not trying to find a job, wouldn't rub two plug nickels together, but always want to talk about what they wish they had and what they want in life. Well, get off of your boop boop and go get it. I'm so tired of well-bodied people laying up at the house. Listen to me, man. What can you tell your son if you lay up at the house all day long and live off of a woman? I was not raised like that. I was not raised that my wife was to take care of me while I sit at home and play Xbox and PlayStation all day. I was not raised to be no kept man. But then you want to try to go out and discipline your son and tell him that he need to go out and get a job while you laying up at the house and your wife go out and work a full-time job all day. And then when she get home, you ain't even got nothing cooked. You ain't cleaned the house. You ain't done anything. I'm so tired. They called it a slugger. I'm going to call it what it is, old lazy behind man. I'm so tired of these lazy folk talking about what they wish they had, what they want. And then they go down to the casino, and the little bit of money that they do get from whatever devilish things that they do, they don't put that into the household. They give that to the Creek Indians, hoping that they can win back $25,000. But when they win $25,000, they done already gave the Creeks $50,000. So when I do that math, that puts you in a whole $25,000. Anybody doing the math with me today? I don't know why my son don't want to work. Baby, because you don't work. Apple trees make apples. Verse 5. The righteous hate what is wise, but the wicked make themselves a stench and bring shame on themselves. Whew, y'all. The righteous hate what is false. That means they just hate folks that just lie. Y'all, the best thing I like about being an adult, the day I became an adult, the day I was able to take care of myself, that I didn't have to call my parents for anything anymore, that I didn't need their financial assistance, the day that the master bedroom was attached to my room, master bathroom was attached to my room, and that's the definition of being an adult, the day that all of the bills that came in the house had my name on it, didn't have my dad's name on it, the day that I became an adult, I no longer had to lie. I don't have any reason to lie now. I can look any adult in the face and tell them the God-having truth. If I don't like them, I can look them in the face and say, just don't like you. If I don't have it, I can just look somebody in the eye and say, I don't have it. If somebody asks me to borrow something and I don't want to give it to them, I don't even have to lie about it because it's my money. I can look at them and say, I just don't want to give it to you. I don't even have to explain. That's the beauty about being an adult. I don't have to lie. But some of us just lie for no good reason. We would rather lie than tell the truth. There's something about a lie coming off our tongue that makes us happy. And then you wonder why your children are liars. Again, I say, the best I can tell, apple trees make apples. Your children can only be what you allow them to be by what you show them on a regular basis. You show them that lying is okay because they see you lie. They see you slipping and tipping. They see you out there with all these people. Then you come home and you lie to your wife or to your husband. They see you lying to folks about what you have and what you don't have. They see you lying about how you got it. they see all these lies that you tell. They see you lying. And some folks will tell you a lie that you didn't even ask for. Don't you hate it when somebody tell you a lie that you didn't ask for? Like sometimes you ask for a lie. Sometimes you will ask somebody something and you kind of push them into a corner and they almost have to lie because you done back them in the corner. But every now and then you'll just be walking down the street and somebody will tap you on your shoulder and they'll shoot you a lie. And you're like, I didn't even ask for that lie. But your child is watching you just be a liar. And more than likely, if you are a liar, your child then in turn is going to become a liar because you are teaching them every day that lying is okay because mama did it, daddy did it, grandma did it, great-grandma did it. Everybody in your family is a liar. At some point, you got to stop that. And I'm going to end on verse 6 because I got to save some parking lot. It says, Righteousness guards the person of integrity, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. So all this is saying is walk upright. So I remember my dad used to tell me this, and he had a lot of cool sayings that I still tell my children today. And he has all these rules, and it was weird. As a kid, I didn't like the rules, but I live by all these crazy rules today. And they work for me. They work for me. So it says righteousness guards the person of integrity. Walk upright. Your name should mean something. Your name should mean something. So before I ever get there, I pray that when somebody reads my name, they already know that whatever I'm on to do, whatever it is, it's going to be good. Just because they read my name and they've heard that I've lived an upright life. So just based on my name, they've never met me. They never talked to me. But based on my name, which precedes me, it got there before I got there. Based on the life that I've lived that's connected to my name, they know that whatever's about to happen is going to be good. So I have people say, Dr. Broughton, I've heard about you. And I've heard that you're a good doctor. And all they're basing that on is what somebody else told them. That meant that your name preceded you. The things that you've done preceded you. Now, I need you to take inventory right now, adults. Adults, this is not a children's sermon. This ain't no youth day sermon. This is a grown folks sermon. I need you to take inventory of when your name precedes you. It's some folks, when I come into the emergency room, we write their names on the board and it tells you what room they're in. And when I see certain last names on the board, doesn't matter what first name is connected to it. If I see this certain last names on the board, I already know it's going to be bad. No, they're going to be looking for drugs. They're going to be cussing. They're going to be acting a donkey. I already know that because their name precedes them. Their name is automatically tied to foolishness based on the last few times. So, as a kid, loved peaches. Loved them straight off the tree. Loved them. We had a huge peach tree. It would have so many peaches on it. It would make the branches bend to the ground. And I would go out and I'd rinse it off and I'd take a bite. And every time, 15 minutes later, my mouth would start itching. Oh my goodness. Mouth itched so bad, but it was so good. I just keep eating them. My lips would start to itch. Oh my goodness, that was so good. Then my eyes would start to run, but that was so good. So over time, I realized that even though I like peaches, there was a reaction that happened every time that I ate a peach. And it became so bad that when I would walk out and I would see the peach, before I ever took a bite, just looking at the peach would cause my mouth to itch. So based on my last few interactions, the sight of the peach, not even eating it, I didn't even have to eat it anymore. I just look at it. The sight of the peach would make my mouth react how I used to react off eating the peach. That's how I feel about some people. Some of these names based on I've had such terrible interactions with these people that just seeing the name gives me a bad thought or I feel like the interaction is going to be bad. So I go ahead and I start breaking out in a sweat. My mouth starts to turn. I start to make, see, Some of you all have such bad names based on the way that you've lived your life. Some people, just as soon as they hear your name, they think of a thief. Some people think of a molester. Some people think of a cheater. Some people think of a whoremonger. Some people, they think of all these things just because that's what they correlate with your name, because that's who you've been your whole life. And I used to preach this sermon called Change Your Name. I need some of y'all to change it, because you can't discipline your child as you are. You got to change. You can't keep living the life you've been living all along and then wonder why your children won't listen to you. Your children are not going to listen to you as you are. There comes a point where you have to have a stick. So when a football player, running back, is running and he wants to make a hard cut, he has to stick his foot in the ground and make a hard cut. Some of you all got to put your foot in the ground and make a hard cut. You've been running the same way long enough. It's time for you to make a turn. It's time for you to make a cut. And I promise you, if you make this cut, your children will respect you for that. But as long as you keep living this life of folly, as long as you keep living this life of foolishness, please do not expect your children to respect you just because you're old. They look at you as an old fool. They don't respect you because you have great hair. They don't respect you because you go to work and pay the bills. Those things in themselves don't bring respect. You must do respectful things. You must live a respectful life. Amen. Be blessed.